Hello everybody, welcome back to Throttle Grotto. This week the shop is an absolute disaster. I'll tell you why after this. It has been an insane week here at Throttle Grotto. Parts showing up for two different cars at the same time, trying to keep track of what parts go where. Two trips to the junkyard already this week, and two 12-hour days at work, and it's only Wednesday, so it's been a pretty crazy week. Let me show you what we've got going on here. So the first thing we've got going on is the Guest 83 GTI. Working on draining the cooling system so I can replace all the hoses. I'm actually going to do a compression check on it here in a little bit to make sure that this engine is good, because it turns over really easy by hand. So I just want to make sure that we've got good compression before we start throwing a whole bunch of parts in here. So the parts that are showing up for this car, we've still got a fuel tank to show up. I've got a brand new fuel pump ready to put in. We're putting 16 valve Scirocco brakes on the front. I got to go through the rear brakes. We've got a Tektronix catback exhaust system coming for it. I've got hoses and switches and brake lines and belts and all that stuff that are going to go on it. Basically, we're just bringing this car back up on its maintenance schedule. So that's all I'm going to be doing on that, and that's probably going to take me some rest of the time this week and into next week. But it's just another thing that I've got going on here. So that's been taking up a little bit of time. And let's see here. So, oh God, where do I start? So I guess I'll start with explaining. So I got back from the junkyard. I went on Sunday, and I've got a complete. So this is a complete under dash harness. I've got a tail light harness is up here. This is an engine management harness. Heater control, or I think this might be power window harness, and the rest of the front wiring harness. So now I have, set this up here so I'll hold it. So now I have a complete wiring harness for this whole car. I understand that it's a 91 and it's an older harness, but it's always a risk buying something from the junkyard. But the car ran and drove prior to going into the junkyard. So it got hit in the rear, light tap. It's all it takes to total out a 91 Cabriolet. Is probably $800 worth of body work. But bad for them, good for me. So now I have a complete wiring harness for the car that will be easier to adapt than a painless or easy wiring or any of the 25 or 30 other manufacturers that make aftermarket wiring harnesses. The advantage to this is I got the whole harness with the fuse box for like $60. So as opposed to, I was looking at painless, they're about $375, and I'd still need to go get all the plugs and all that stuff, repin all the terminals. So this will actually be a quicker way to get power to everything I need to get in this car. So there will be some hurdles that I'm going to have to overcome, mostly the CE2 wiring from the 91 Cabriolet to some of the older switches, the older fan control. So the dash harness is going to be the one that's going to give me the biggest amount of grief. But I'll be able to modify the Audi harness for the AEB motor, that I can basically make it a plug-and-play harness. If I need to work on it, I can pull the harness out. So that'll be nice, and it'll look as close to factory as as I can get it. You know, with the proper grommets going through the firewall and all that stuff. So that's one of the things I got from that cabriolet. The other, like this whole shop is just a disaster right now. So I got a set of front knuckles because I think these are 90 millimeter axle shaft knuckles. So now I have the knuckles, and I can bolt the Audi Quattro calipers that I have to it. So Audi 4000 Quattro, same as Scirocco 16 valve. And now I can bolt up the 10-inch front brakes. I still need to get pads and rotors. I got a friend of mine had on his Rabbit that he basically put it together and then let it sit. But I got a whole rear disc conversion with the brake cables and everything. So that's going to go on. And some little things. So a few little things, like I got a completely uncracked hood release cable because I keep latching the hood accidentally and having to reach up through the grill, so it's like, I better put a hood release cable in there. I could put one of the earlier manual release latches, but I have one reservation about that. I was at a restaurant one time and I had my Blue Rabbit, and I came out from the restaurant and my hood was popped. So with the external release hood latch, it's really, really easy for someone to get into your engine compartment. Nothing was damaged, nothing was taken, but I don't like people being able to just pop your hood. It just keeps honest people honest. I guess if somebody really wants to get in there, they will. So one of the first things I want to do is I want to set up this car because I'm going to have a rear fog light on. It's kind of a 90s thing. I'll show it to you. It's actually way back when I had my 83 GTI. I had one of these on the back, and it's just a bolt-on Hella rear fog light, but it's kind of a period correct thing. You know, this was like the cool 80s thing to have on your car, was a Hella rear fog. So I need to add a wire into that harness, the tail light harness, for the rear fog wiring. So I had just enough wire to get me back to, this is the junction for the rear ground, for the tail lights, side markers, all those things. So got me back far. I would have been good to check first that I had enough wire. I kind of assumed, but I got lucky. So now I know what I need to tape. So now I'll actually move to the workbench and do my taping standing up. So I'm coming up to this main junction here where the fuel, this is the in-tank fuel pump and the external fuel pump wiring meet up with the taillight harness section. And so what I'm doing to make this look nice is I went a little ways out and taped these two together, and I'm just going to run a lap of tape around here till I get it up to the main section of the harness. Kind of peel that back. Now, if you've ever taped road bike handlebars, this is kind of like taping a set of road bike handlebars at this point. I'm just going to come through the groove like that. Just kind of wrap around the Y, and then follow it off with a little bit just to make it stick to each other. And now we have a really nice, clean, factory-looking junction here. It looks like it came in a brand new car. So that was about 15 minutes of work, and this was a 25-meter roll of tape, and I've used about half of one of these rolls to do the taillight harness. So it's not very expensive to do this, it's just a little bit of time, but what a difference it makes. So now I can put it in the car. I didn't tape this rear section yet. I want to make sure that everything back here works. Like, I don't have to modify any of the wiring for the tail lights itself before I tape everything up. So this will all get done to look like this. And after I've got power to everything and I've tested to make sure that all these grounds and everything work, and then I can tape it and it'll be done. One of the things I'm going to do a little bit differently on this car is, if you know these cars, there's hooks along here that the harness actually attaches to. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to run it up through here and inside, and I'm going to get some plastic, or I'm going to clip it to the inside to make sure that it stays in place there. But then I'll run it out underneath the door panel up front to make it so this isn't cluttered back here. And there we have, the whole rear harness is now in. So if I had power to a fuse box, I could put the fuse box in and test all my rear lights. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing to the whole to the whole headlight harness, the dash harness. I'm going to wait on because I have instrument cluster wiring to figure out, because the instrument cluster is different. But I'm going to do the headlight harness, and so that I have a way to feed power back into the fuse panel from the engine compartment, and we'll catch up after that. Alright everybody, welcome back to another day in the shop. It is, wow, late in the afternoon, but I got a lot of stuff done. Not on any of the cars, just in the shop in general. I took a load of scrap metal to the recycling place, and I did some much needed cleanup here. I spent about 2 hours sorting through a big bin of bolts I had and putting them all into like containers by size, and so all my 10mm bolts, all my 13mm bolts, all my M10 and 12, and then all the bolts were separated out by length and stuff like that. So I didn't go super OCD on it, but I really needed to get that done, because it's like, yes, I spent 2 hours doing it, but over time, over the life of that bolt bin, I've probably wasted 2 hours going through and like sorting through and trying to figure out, you know, where is that washer, where is that bolt I threw in here. So long-term time savings for a upfront investment, let's say. So back to the Rabbit. One of the things I did not, I guess I didn't know about these cars, is that the grommet hole in the firewall is different sizes. The old, which makes sense. I mean, you start sticking more wires through there, the hole's got to be bigger. So this one on the Cabriolet comes in at just about a 50 millimeter hole. The one that's in the firewall right now is about a 35. So I have to enlarge at least 2 of them, possibly a third. We'll see. So I've got to figure out what tool I'm going to use to make a 50 mil hole on the firewall, and then I can run the harness through the hole. And these are the ones I'm talking about. So they're not super easy to get to. So the good thing, it looks like, is the old markings for the grommets are just about 50 millimeters big. So looks like if I take those 2 holes and just grind them out to that size, that's like the easy way to do it. So I don't have to make a mark, I just have to make metal fly. So the third harness that goes into that is right here. And when I was taking it out of the Cabriolet, I did a bad thing. I was starting to get impatient, and I cut this harness apart because it was intertwined, and it was basically woven through, when they put it together, woven through one of the other harnesses. And I didn't have any tools or anything to de-pin connectors and that kind of stuff when I was out at the junkyard, and it was like 35 or 38 degrees. So I cut them. So before I put this back into the car, I need to fix these wires. Now, there's a whole bunch of ways I could do it. I could use butt splices, which is the obviously quickest way to do it, but not a good way to do it. 90% of the time or more, I use solder and heat shrink, but today I am going to, and on this whole build actually, I'm going to use these, they're butt connectors, but they are the uncoated type. So you put them on, you crimp them, and then you heat shrink over them. So some people will argue that soldering and heat shrinking is better. A lot of people will tell you that this is the best way to do it. And kind of what I've read for everything that like vibration and stuff like that, this is the best way to do it. So it's really straightforward. If you've never done it, well, this is how you do it. You know, they make them in different diameters for different gauges of wire. So I've got 3 wires here to fix, and I'm just going to show you guys how I'm doing it. It's pretty simple. Strip the wires, crimp them, heat shrink, done. that is how you get a nice tight connection. So now now I just need to do the other three. We'll be ready to set this harness in the car as well. So after doing this technique for the first time, I will say that I actually like it better than soldering and heat shrinking. It goes together quicker. I think it's going to be more sturdy in the long run, and it actually makes a nice small connection here. Like, these wires are not much larger than they were to start with. Sometimes when you do soldering, the joint gets bigger, especially with like a thin diameter wire. And wires like this gauge, I think this is maybe a 12, let's see here, maybe a 10 or an 8 gauge wire. It's really not easy to solder these things together. You have to kind of mash them together and then fill the gap, and it works, but this is a way better connection for a larger diameter wire. So I just got these at an electronics store. They're and then you can get heat shrink anywhere. So next time you're going to fix a wire, do it that way. Now we're back in the car, and we've got our relay panel here. So let me grab an early fuse panel so you can see the difference if you're not familiar with these cars. So this is the early original fuse box. As you can tell, a lot more connections on the back. Pretty similar construction though, but bullet fuses, ATO fuses, 1960s technology and 1990s technology. So from this point, it's pretty easy. All of these harnesses have their very special connectors they go to. You can't put it in the wrong place. Alright, so I'll show you guys where I'm kind of leaving off for this episode. We've got a huge pile of wiring already installed. There's still a lot of troubleshooting to do on this wiring harness, just from the simple fact of installing it into a car that it didn't start out in. So pulling it out, transferring it, putting it in. Hopefully by sometime next week, during next week's episode, I will have all of the wiring hooked up to each other and ready to throw a battery in and at least do some electrical testing. So at that point, once I know like the taillight harness is working, A bunch of other stuff works. I probably could have done it, just lay the whole harness out on the floor, but I kind of wanted to go through the process of putting it in before I taped everything up. So I'll pull the harness back out. There's a bunch of stuff. There's still some wires that I have to lengthen, and so it's good to have it in the car. I can kind of see where things need to be, and just make it fit this car. So it pretty much fits, but like the wiper wiring, I'm going to use a Mark III motor, so I'm just going to get a plug from a Mark III and just wire it in that way. So it just looks right and works like it's supposed to. That's it for this week's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. I've accomplished about 40% of what I wanted to do in the past couple of days. So, but before I go, the next 2 weeks I'm going to be talking about the ReScarfO giveaway. So when I was at SEMA, I'm not going to open it up because my hands are still dirty, but I have this really rad Recaro scarf. I'm going to put it down because the paper's really crunchy and you won't be able to hear me talk. But if you want to win the Recaro scarf and a set of Throttle Grotto stickers, I will send them to you at no charge. All you have to do is like and subscribe and put something in the comments below. In 2 weeks, so let's see here, right about Christmas time, I will pick a winner and I will message them and get their information and send them the stickers and a scarf. So that's it. Till next week, make sure you do all that so that you can get the ReScarfO giveaway. And I'll talk about the giveaway again next week, and then I will announce it probably around the new year. So one of your New Year's resolutions will be to stay warm with a new scarf, hopefully. That's the end of this episode. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, get out there and work on something.